Okay, we do have a chat box up here, so if you can hear me, let me know you're here and say your name in the chat, and let me know if you can hear the audio. I'm not sure from this end. I think we're ready to go. We have 5 minutes till we're going to start. I'm going to keep plinking for a little while. Well, I saw a heart go up. If you see the chat box, type something and I'll type something so you see. Type here. Let's see. No. There, I said a little chat so you can see that it works here. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Nancy. I'm glad you're here. See, I can aim the camera just a little bit lower. Ancient ways, dark is the night, dancing in moonlight, singing our hearts open wide. Ancient ways, oceans and swells, healing water wells, our fires burning tonight. Well, welcome to the Inner Sanctum. Mr. Bones is back here too. I inherited the skeleton with this room. There's nowhere else to put it in the house, so I put it in the wall so it's not out in the middle of the room. So I have a little camera, I have a nice little microphone, and I have a screen behind me that we can share. See if I can set that screen up for sharing now. Entire screen. That one. There you go. Dang! Now you can see a little one of me and see the Tarot Tableau, Major Arcana. If anybody else is arriving, show yourself in the chat. Say your name so I can see you're here. Hi, Nancy. Nancy's the only one who said hello so far. This will be recorded so people can watch it later, but I'm hoping there'll be a few more people here. Oh, hi, Christopher. You're in. Good, good. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Tarot Tableau that I have shown here in the background. I can't seem to make this little picture of me here any smaller, so it overlaps one of the keys. I guess I could shrink the whole thing down so that, makes room. But I like it big, so we'll be talking about the keys above there, so we'll leave it this way. Now we got two people in here. Hi, Nancy, and hi, Christopher. Thanks for the heads up, Christopher. I said that this was an AM. I quickly sent that to other people that it's a PM, and it will be recorded, so people will get back to it later. We got another minute. It's going to start at 7. It's 6:59. Can you hear me well? Is the audio doing well? Give me a little note in the chat that you can hear me. I just want to make sure that my microphone is working. My feed is cutting out. You mean visually or auditorily? Is the sound feeding out, Christopher, or is the picture feeding out? Well, I have a good solid plugged in internet contact. It shouldn't be falling out, and I'm seeing it on screen. And what I'm seeing, it looks like it's working fine. Audio is cutting out. There, your little microphone. If I move it up, is it cutting in and out now when I'm talking? Is it still cutting in and out, Christopher? It's my new little microphone, and I don't know how good it is. But I have it here sitting in front of me, so it should be working. Can you at least hear what it is that I'm saying? Oops. There we go. Well, I'll work on that for next time. I hope you can hear me. Oh, Nancy is loud and clear. Okay, that's good. Might be a good connection that you're having, Christopher. Well, others can hear me just right, so it must be on your end. You may not have the best connection going on. All right. I don't have another microphone that I can hook up right now, so this will be it for tonight. Now, the last week when we got here, we talked about the tarot and where they came from a little bit and what this is all about. These pictures show the inner workings of human consciousness, and everything that can exist in existence can be ascribed to one or more of these keys. So last week we talked about the first row at the top. You see here the magician, the first one at the top left, the high priestess, the empress, the emperor, the hierophant, the lovers, and the chariot. And these are the 7 principles of human consciousness. The magician represents concentration. Here he is in a garden, pointing down where he is working. The high priestess represents memory, like a scroll where she's writing things on your memory. The empress represents creative imagination. The emperor represents the faculty of reason. The hierophant represents the faculty of intuition. The lovers is discrimination. And the chariot represents victory, the accomplishment of your goals. These same principles take place on the physical plane. The magician is the bachelor man. The high priestess is the virgin woman. They get together and she gets pregnant as the empress. And he becomes now the father. He was a young man as the magician. Now he has a white beard. And he has the role not only of ruling over his children and providing food, but also as the hierophant, teaching them wisdom and revealing secrets to them, the knowledge of life. And then the child grows up and finds his own lover and takes his place in the chariot. What I found was so fun last time, the chariot represents victory, the accomplishments of your desires. And yet the chariot is not going anywhere. The black and white sphinxes, in this case, instead of horses, are sitting on the ground in front of the chariot. The charioteer is standing still. There's a couple of bits of wisdom here to notice. One of the sphinxes is black. It runs away from things. One of the sphinxes is white. It runs towards things. So we're sort of a little principle of truth here. If you want to go somewhere well, you should be running away from the thing directly behind you and running towards the thing directly in front of you. Many of us have these things not oriented in opposition to one another, and so we're trying to drive with the brakes on. The other principle that's so cool about this, that victory is a state of human consciousness. It doesn't require activity. Now, this is really a weird thing, but at the highest levels of manifestation, when you hold in mind the image of that which comes forth, it can come to you in very mysterious ways without you having to go out and get it. A dear friend of mine recently said to me, when you have a goal before your mind's eye, go directly towards it. Don't stop and go in another direction to earn enough money to go and buy it. You have to change directions twice. Just go directly towards it to manifest it. This is still a mystery that I don't completely understand, but I see it at work in others and sometimes in my own life. So victory is a state of consciousness. So the first 7 tarot keys are the 7 states of spiritual unfoldment. The second set, from key 8 to key 14, are the principles or the agencies through which these first 7 take expression. They are the power of suggestion in strength, the power of response in the Hierophant, rotation in the Wheel of Fortune, equilibrium, balance in Justice, reversal in the Hanged Man, transformation as Death, and verification as Temperance. We're going to explore these a little bit further. I just wanted to introduce them first, but notice that in the vertical row, the magician works through the power of suggestion to bring about or alter the pictures that are shown in the last seven. The last seven tarot keys from 15 to 21 represents the 7 states of spiritual unfoldment, from bondage to the devil to freedom as the world dancer, self-supported like a star in the sky. So the principles of consciousness at the top, act through the laws of nature or the agencies in the middle to bring about or alter the 7 states of spiritual unfoldment in the last row of keys. We'll look at those next week. Now let's look at key 8, strength. What are some of the associations of key 8? You'll find always in the tarot. Here's a lovely diagram I created a long time ago, a bit graphic. We want to look at Tet, the letter related to, come back around here, Tet, there it is. Dum, 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 dum. There, click. So here are the correspondences of the letter Tet, which is related to our tarot key of strength. Tet is the letter T in English, the number 9. It's the meaning of the letter is a snake. And if you look at it, it looks like a snake with its head at one end and the tail coming up over the back. The color is yellow. The note is E. The tarot key is number 8, strength. In astrology, this is the sign of Leo, ruled by the sun. The exalted planet is Neptune. In the body, Leo rules the heart and the spine. These are the 32 paths of wisdom. Tet is the 19th path of wisdom. The intelligence described as the intelligence of the secret of all spiritual activities. Now, that's very important. This letter contains the secret of all spiritual activities. And it corresponds to Leo the lion. The psychology, it's the principle of suggestion. There's a sense assigned to Tet, and it's taste and the function of digestion. This is a fun carousel of letters I created. You could have running on your desktop. Whatever you want to learn about a letter, you could slow it down and click on it, and pang, there's all your correspondences. So strength, Tet, taste, digestion, Leo. Look at this key representing suggestion. Notice that it is a woman who is taming the lion. Now the lion looks like he's going, oh my God, what is going on? So the animal nature is being brought under control. And notice she has around her waist and around the lion's neck a figure 8 of red roses, just like the magician is growing above. So through cultivating red roses, desires, you bring the animal nature into control by the power of suggestion. Notice that she has a figure 8 above her head, just like the magician has above his head. So the animal nature, what's shown here is kind of what's shown as prophecy, where the lion is going, he is being spoken through. When you are speaking with prophecy, you often don't know what's coming next. Your mouth is being controlled by something else, just as this lion's mouth is being controlled by the woman. Notice the high priestess has a white robe underneath this blue water robe. And here in strength, she's just wearing the white underrobe. You'll see this again and again, the white underrobe of the magician, the white underrobe of the fool. This represents the inner nature of reality, which is covered in its physical expression. But here, the interesting key, the subconscious is dressed in the pure white robe, so the truth is being uncovered, just like all the way over here in Temperance, where the angel is wearing the white robe. What is the secret of all spiritual activities? The secret of all spiritual activities here is suggested to us that it is the power of suggestion. Why is that such a secret, and why does that control all spiritual activities? It's through proper use of suggestion that you bring your physical body into health and into strength and into good functioning, and bring your mind into order. It gets everything going, gets everything coordinated. There's much mysteries here, and it's well worth meditating about the power of suggestion. You suggest something to yourself whenever you say something to yourself, your own inner dialogue. It is the things you say about experiences that make the most potent suggestion to yourself, much more so than what happened itself. Something that makes one person completely outrageously angry might make another one a little bit peeved. And the difference is that how you say it to yourself. If you just use different words to describe your experiences, your experience will have a different effect upon you. So it is not the things that happen to you that really make the difference in your life. It's how you talk to yourself about them that makes the difference. Great mysteries here. Notice that the figure 8 is the same number 8 on the key of strength. Opposite effects come from the same cause is one of the meanings of that figure 8. One direction or the other direction. Shakespeare said that the fool who continues in his folly shall become wise. Here we have the fool off of the sign here, but what does he meant with the fool who continues in his folly? As long as you unconsciously repeat behavior, you never learn and you never become wise. But I think what Shakespeare is saying with the fool who continues in his folly shall become wise means that you observe yourself, you are mindful, you watch yourself while you are doing your behavior. For example, if your behavior hurts emotionally your partner, and you're watching your partner while you're behaving, and you see that he or she is hurt, it will make you, if you have compassion, really want to change, which is a necessary factor to bring about the necessary suggestion to subconscious mind to really make lasting change. So the fool who continues with his folly is observing himself being foolish, realizing he's being foolish, and choosing to change. Another thing, that which puts the fool into bondage is the same thing that frees the wise person. What does this mean? The same thing that puts you into prison is the same thing that frees you. Again, it's through self-conscious observation that you learn the lessons that allow you to free yourself. We'll come back to this theme more. Let's go on down the row. Next, we have the hermit. Here we have the fool is falling off a cliff in key 0, and here the hermit has climbed up back on top of the mountain. Now, there's a sense in which tarot keys are the opposite of what they appear, just like life is often. And it looks like the hermit is all alone up on top of a mountaintop. But he's wearing the warm robes of wisdom, the gray. He has the staff standing upright all the way to his head. This is a symbol of the Kundalini energy going up the spine. And he has a yod cap. Yod will come to here, the letter that is shown on key. Where are you, yod? On this key, he has the key. The hermit has the yod on top of his head. Yod is the hand of man, the hand of God. He's in interior contact with every human being. The state of consciousness represented by the hermit is back up on top of the mountain where the fool is. And he is a light to all those down below him on the path. The hermit represents the sense of response, the agency of response, to be able to respond to something. And it has the sense related to it of touch, the sense of touch. A hermit is Virgo in the astrological signs, which rules over the small intestine. Interesting, in the small intestine, convoluted, wrapped around inside of your tummy, the small intestine in alchemy is called the black dragon of putrefaction. Coiled around like a dragon, and your food ferments and digests in there and putrefies in a sense. And the function associated with this key is that of assimilation. This is the intelligence of will, and it has to do with assimilation. Now, there's many meanings of assimilation, but the one I want to go on the physical plane first. If you think about your small intestine, it assimilates the digested food and pulls it in to the bloodstream, where it can go to the liver and out to all the rest of the body. So that assimilation is the extraction of nutrients through the lining of your small intestine, ruled by Virgo. zodiacal sign associated with the hermit. Interestingly, in astrology, each planet or each sign has a ruling planet. The ruling planet of Virgo, the hermit, is Mercury, the magician. And some of the signs, or most of them, have an exalted planet. And this is the only sign in which Mercury is exalted. Now, herein lies a great mystery. Mercury, the thinking mind, is exalted, meaning it comes to its highest form of expression in the process of digestion? That doesn't seem right. For almost everyone, digestion is a fully unconscious process. They chew food and stuff it in their stomach and let their body do the rest. But there's a secret here. The hermit is the one who's achieved the wisdom of the fool after the long pathway through all the keys prior to there, and he's back up on top of the mountain. And he gets there through properly assimilating nutrients in his intestine. It's said that some of the great mysteries, this is a course about the Western mysteries, some of the great mysteries have to do with the most mundane things of all, like digestion of food or breathing. What is meant here? Virgo. Virgo is the virgin. Here we have the virgin birth. Well, let's look at the story of Christianity. The liberating power, the Christ, is born of a virgin, born of Virgo, born in a manger. The French word manger, same spelling, manger, means to chew. It's where the animals put their heads in the box to eat food. In the very particular place it's born, in the manger, through chewing. So chewing food liberates a power which goes into your digestive system and gets absorbed through your small intestine. If and only if you use the magician, Mercury, to consciously invite the subtle essences in your food to come into your body. Here's a key for you alchemists. This is the potable gold, the drinkable gold. And you must absorb it through your food through a process. Well, you can see this process at work in Christianity. Before you have a meal, you say grace, and you still yourself, and you practice gratitude for the food, for all that brought it there. And so it brings you in a meditative state of mind, if done properly, and you then can increase this absorption of the potable gold by consciously inviting it through the walls of your intestine, like billions of pinpoints of light circulating through your body, through your blood, through your nerves, through your subtle bodies. See it like trillions of little stars of energy circulating and lighting you up inside, especially live food. You pick some green vegetables and put it in your mouth and chew it, breaking up the cell wall. Energy is released and radiates into your head if you don't swallow it too fast. And that you invite that energy in through your intestine and charge yourself up. And this is truly a great spiritual practice. Eating, a mystery. The next tarot key, the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is the principle of rotation, of alternate movements to the right and to the left. It's associated with the pair of opposites, wealth and poverty. So here we have Fortuna, the goddess of fortune, bringing you wealth or poverty. This is the planet of Jupiter in astrology, and is the rewarding intelligence of those who seek. So of those who seek, remember, seek and ye shall find. This saying ascribed to the Master Jesus is elaborated in the Gospel of Thomas, one of the Coptic or the Dead Sea Scrolls. And he says it a little differently, the same story as the other Gospels. He says, he who seeks, he shall find. And when he finds, he will be astonished, amazed. And when he has amazed, he shall rule over the all. So here's an important point. He who seeks, he shall find. If you are dead set on something and you keep seeking for it, you will attain it. You will find it. There's a solid principle of truth here. And the letter on the Wheel of Fortune, Kaf, is the grasping hand. It looks like a hand, a little letter on the tarot key. Let me pull it up for you here. I can get the tarot key up here. Here's the letter Tet, that serpent I was talking about, the last key. And here comes Yod. And now Kaf. Kaf looks like a hand that's grasping. Kaf is a grasping hand. So the Wheel of Fortune has to do with mental grasp of concepts as well as physical grasp of objects. And you see these three figures, the four heralds around the outside of the key are the four fixed signs of the zodiac. And inside, we have a sphinx in blue, a snake in yellow, and Hermanibus, a red man with a jackal's head on top, indicating this principle of hearing. So the incarnation and the involution is the snake coming down the bottom. The evolution is the human reaching back up and using the powers of those special ears to come back up to this place of balancing of human and animal on top, the sword of discrimination. So many wonderful symbols here. We'll come back to them. Let's go on now to the key of justice. Justice is the astrological sign of Libra, and here you see the scales. This is we have a Lady Justice in our tradition for representing the scales of justice. This is the principle of equilibrium. As a principle of life, it is the law of karma. The law of karma, which you could say that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This works not only on the physical objects, but also emotionally and ethically. If you act unethically towards others, it's going to come around and bounce back to you. It may not happen right away, maybe later. But if you bend reality, it's going to spring back and snap. So you can't tell a lie, or it will mess up your ability to be able to determine what is true. Scales are not in balance, they are moving. We aren't seeking to have a steady balance in our life. You just want to have equal movement in the different directions. The astrological sign of Libra. Librans are often known for, if you come to them and say something that puts weight on one side of the scale, they'll say, what about, and put something on the other side of the scale, just to evoke conversation and to get you to defend your point. It seems like they're often contrarians, but actually they're seeking to find out where the dynamic balance is. This key of rotation, this key of equilibrium, how does that work out in practical matters? If you have acted in a way that's created an imbalance, there will be repercussions that come back to you to rebalance you. But if you see that coming back towards you, like if you throw a ball hard against the wall, it's going to, a bouncing ball, it's going to bounce back at you hard. But how hard it hits you depends on whether you're running towards it, it hits you lots harder, or running away from it, hits you a lot softer. So your activity and what you're doing will mitigate the forces of karma and how they arrive upon you. So notice how this key 11 is smack dab in the middle of the tableau. In the middle row, in the middle, front and back, side to side. Again, it's the middle letter of the alphabet, Lamed. And Lamed is the ox goad. The ox goad is a little curved stick that the goat herd would use to poke the ox in the rear to get him going. So interesting that the name of God, El, with Yod and Lamed. Yod being the life force itself, and Lamed being the ox goad that pushes the ox into motion. The ox is the fool, also related to Yod. And so it appears that here in the physical plane, even life force itself, you might say God himself, requires a poke in the rear to get into action. The principle that you take into your own life. Sometimes you need to motivate yourself in order to get into action. Now, the next key 12, is the principle of reversal. It's an interesting principle. It also shows that here you see a 4 in his legs over a 3, a triangle. So you see the emperor over the empress. And notice that the head of the hangman is below earth level. It's a symbol for subconscious and has an enlightened line around it. So inwardly, the hangman is expressing incredible freedom. Outwardly, it looks like he's hung up and quite captured. This is an interesting principle, something that's true about life. Everything you observe is, in a way, the opposite of what it truly is. For example, if you look at an apple and it's red colored, it's red because it reflects red and absorbs all the other colors, which means, in a sense, it's anti-red. It's everything but red, and that's why it looks red, because it rejects red and reflects it out. So that here in this physical example, the way things look is the opposite of how they really are. That's worth considering. This is the planet of Neptune in astrology. And Neptune is a planet of inspiration and visions and fantasies, but also delusions and drugs and mistakes and great confusion. So Neptune is a source of great inspiration, but have to be careful with it because it can lead you astray. The Hanged Man is the stable intelligence. And here you notice he's not swinging. He's hanging really still there in mind. And it's the element of water. So there's associated, those three planets are associated with air, water, and fire. This is our element of water. Mem, the M letter of the alphabet, associated to this key. Let's bring it up here so you can see it. Here's Kaf. Let's go to the next key. Lamed we had next for the word. Here's Mim. Mim looks like a little bay in an ocean in the middle of the letter. And certainly enough, this represents water. There's a lovely story in the old Judaism about Mim final. All the letters, 5 of the Hebrew letters, have a different form when they're at the end of a word. Kind of like we put a capital letter at the front of a word if it's a proper noun or the start of a sentence. They have certain letters that, if the end of a word, have a different form. And the form for Mim final, let me scoot all the way over there. Mim final is closed. So this is the form. And what they said in the old Jewish text was that for God to express, to come down so that humans could understand them, he had to open up the closed Mim and turn it in, like they call it like putting a dimple, a blemish on his own face, so that we could be making his inner truth accessible to us. So Mim is a state of revelation, a state in which the mind is suspended. This is often referred to in yoga as samadhi. When the mind is not moving anymore. And this is a very, very fascinating state. When you stop thinking, there's a great inner revelation, and it seems like the outside and the inside reverse, and what was outside is inside, and all the things that were around you seem like they're inside of you. Most fascinating state of consciousness. Next, we have the key of death and the astrological sign of Scorpio. You notice up here in the sky, there's a seed. That lovely seed is a little circle inside of a big circle with 5 lines coming out of the little circle. This is a principle shown in the old Hebrew teachings that in order to create the universe, the one concentrates itself and shrinks down to a small area, creating an empty space around it to fill with the universe. So the seed is a principle of birth. Now, it's interesting that this principle of birth and creation is in the key called death. And the letter Nun on it, let's look at a Nun for us here. Bring that up, those letters up again. Where'd my letters go? Well, Nun, you can see a little one here. Nun looks like a leaf coming up out of a seed. And sure enough, the letter Nun means to sprout or to grow as a verb, and means fish as a noun. So the letter on the key of death, Nun, means fish and means to sprout or to grow. And in the Bible, Joshua is the son of Nun. Joshua, the same spelling as Yeshua, Jesus, is the son of Nun. Nun represents the birth out of a seed. And yet again, we're seeing a picture of death. And the background is east, so this, looking the end of it all, is a sunrise coming up. So we have a bunch of secrets in here that Scorpio, as an astrological sign, rules the generative organs, the regenerative organs, where we make babies. So again, the principle of birth is shown here as the key of death. What's the meaning of this? Well, real simple answer. Everything that's born dies. That's the way life works. And it's not 2 processes. It's the same process. Everything that's born goes through its cycle of growth and then its cycle of decay and death. And that's the way life is. Interestingly, the intelligence ascribed to this key of death is the intelligence of resemblance. It doesn't take a whole lot of imagination to realize what that means. You resemble your parents. Every living being or every living insect or animal or plant resembles the parents that gave it birth. we call it genetics in our modern world, but here's the principle shown in the ancient times, long before genetics was known, that each life form has a resemblance to that which engendered it. This key of Scorpio, of death, represents transformation. It is the imaginative intelligence and has to do with the function of motion, of transformation. It's well to know that in order to be healthy, you must release all of the waste products and old dead cells from your body. People who are not willing to die daily and release their old selves tend to stuff their old unused waste materials into their joints and create arthritis and stuff themselves up with it. It takes a healthy respect of death and a healthy release to allow these things to move out and through you so that you remain healthy. Interesting, notice in the tarot that there's a white rose in death. The only other place there's a white rose in tarot is in the hand of the Fool, of the life power itself. Here's another great key. And notice the skeleton is twisted here in the so-called Mars center, the reproductive center, and in the neck, two places that the contortionist couldn't imitate, the Mars and the Venus centers, for those of you who know the chakras by astrology. So here, there's a twisting of the Mars energy to make it to go up into the neck. It's a secret of alchemical things. I'm just going to intimate a bunch of things here to set some thoughts going. We'll explore these in greater time as we go on. And here we have the last principle of human consciousness, the last agency through which these things work. Here we have the principle of transformation and of verification. Transformation is death and verification as temperance. Here we verify the spiritual truth we receive. Notice, interestingly, he's pouring water onto a lion, onto a fire sign, and he's putting fire onto an eagle, Scorpio, a water sign. So here's blending the opposites, and the angel is standing with one foot on the earth and one foot on the bottom of a little pool that he's standing in. If you look at the pool, it's shaped like the letter Mem, meaning of water. There is the letter Mem around at his feet that he's standing on. Temperance is the holy guardian angel, and it is tempering. Now, the word tempering comes from metallurgy. When you take a sword, you heat it up and pound it out and stick it into water and quench it. That's tempering the sword. It makes it both strong and flexible. And we require tempering to become ripe. Our character requires tempering, being put into opposite experiences until we become tempered. Here you see the path of return coming from the water as the yellow path going behind the lion and up onto the mountaintop. It's between two mountains, and there's an invisible mountain glowing behind the peak that's to be reached. Again, in the 7-pointed star or just above the 7-pointed star is the name of God, the 4-lettered name Yod-He-Wah-He, that we translate as Jehovah or Yahweh. And there's a rainbow around above. So again, this is Iris, the rainbow goddess. You can look up the mythology to learn more about this key. So the principle that's taught in Kabbalah is that the holy guardian angel is one. There's just one for the whole human race. You don't have a holy guardian angel. There's one for all of us. The deeper level of your own selfhood includes everybody else. When you go deep enough within, who you are is not different from who everybody else is. How many of you have had the experience sometime in your life when you looked into someone's eyes and it felt like they were looking out of your eyes or you were looking out of their eyes? Not everybody has this experience, but it's one of my favorite experiences. Happened to be a handful of times in my life only. Oh, I'm seeing here, Erica is here and Nicholas is here. Great. Hi, you guys. The True Authority. Oh, you have a funny name. All right. So here we've explored these agencies through which the first 7 express and act to bring about or change the last 7 down below. I want to share, I made this little potpourri of Kabbalistic diagrams to share with you just for fun. Let's look at Paul Foster Case said it'd be very helpful for you to put your tarot keys in a circle and meditate on them that way. So I set them out in a circle, did a nice picture of them. Let's just watch through. Here's the The hat that's on top of the Hierophant, his crown. He's holding this scepter. Here's our yin-yang symbol, all of its wonderful meanings. The Pythagorean triangle. The circular tree of life. That was a fun diagram. Here's the seed I was talking about. Lovely diagram of the seed. So the inner power projects itself, or seeming expression of self, as the outer power, and fills the space with the fivefold manifestations. And I've colored them like the 5 tattvas. We'll explore in another lesson. So I said that in the very beginning, the Hindus call this the night of Brahma. Before there is a universe, before there is anything, there is no thing, equally spread throughout infinity, like an endless dark sea without any surface. And for creation to occur, the one shrinks from this larger oval down to the smaller oval and creates an empty space. And within that space, it expresses the powers of creation. A worthy symbol to meditate on. Let's go on. Here's a view of the cube of space with the Western face removed so you can look right into it. Here's another view of the cube of space. We'll explore these in another time. Here's a circle of the tattvas, the 5 principles of manifestation. And we're back to our circular tree, circular tarot again. Just a mixed bag of fun images. Now, I have the chat open now. Yes, Eric, I'll be doing this every week at 7, and these will be recorded where you can go back and see them anytime you want. So at the same time, every week, in the same URL that got you here, will work every week. I got that all figured out today. I'm finally learning how to use all this wonderful podcasting software so I can communicate with you. So any questions you have before I finish up tonight, drop them in the chat. Good, good. I realize we're kind of jumping in the deep end a little bit, but I'm going to talk about the Fool. Maybe you put some questions in here. The Fool is separate from this tableau of 3 by 7. The Fool is the number 0. And the Fool is that which takes form as all things. So all the other tarot keys are an expression of the Fool. The Fool in our playing cards is the Joker. Remember, the Joker is a wild card. The Joker can be anything else you define it as. There's a little bit of wisdom of the tarot embodied still in our playing cards. He's the Joker, the wild card. The Fool is the life breath. Now, on almost every language of the world, pneuma, spiritus, ruach, od, the word for air, the word for breath, and the word for spirit are the same. So here's a little key for you. When you breathe, you can absorb pure spirit. But again, if you make it conscious, and you consciously invite the air in through you as you breathe, and you visualize it coming through your lungs and into your being, you can be supercharged with the same life force that others just breathe in and out. Look at the Fool there on the cliff. He's a superconscious mind, and he has at his foot a little white dog is saying, "Hey, Fool, look out, you're about to walk off a cliff." And the little white dog is the magician, the conscious mind. And here's a little key. Most of us, the part of me that's thinking up the words to explain this to you is the magician. But the magician is to the true self about the same relation as the dog is to a human. The whole higher order of being is your true self. The Fool is that which takes forms as all things, as the primal substance. And you notice here in the background, there's mountain peaks with snow on them. And the snow is melting and flowing down, and it becomes the water that flows through all these tarot keys. So the waters of consciousness emerge from these abstract principles of truth, like mathematics that the mountains represent, that are cold and uninteresting to mostly, but they are the principles from which manifestation emerges. You could think of the Fool. Someone asked about the justification of relating the Fool with God. God is a difficult concept. And at his throat it is the name Yod Hey Wah Hey, real tiny there. So the white robe of God is down underneath this fantastic robe that he's wearing, the robe of manifestation, lined with the red of desire, and it has plants and stars and sun and moon and symbols and growing plants all around on this great robe, so that the life power is garbed in the manifested world. All that you see about you, every atom of every substance, is the body of God. Every law of nature is the emotion of God. The principle of polarity itself is the mind of God. You have a white sun behind him, not a physical sun, a spiritual sun. This is the source of all beingness. This is the life power. No, we humans, we anthropomorphize. We give human qualities to things which aren't human, like we do to God as a father in heaven. And this is, it's a kind of a primitive way of looking at things, and it's very immature, but it's normal. And so we have to be able to go beyond our conceptual framework in order to experience the nature of reality. Here's a little secret for you. The fool is wearing this great garb of the manifested world over the robe of wisdom. So if you want to get down to the robe of wisdom and see what's really going on, if you want to experience God consciousness, you have to somehow take off this robe. But it's held on with a belt, the belt of time. Now, I know the words, but I don't know the truth behind this, and it's still growing in my mind. But you have to take off the belt of time in order to lift off the appearance of reality and see the truth underneath it. So when we're here born in a human body, as all of us are, it seems like we experience a movement through time from the past towards the future in an ever-moving present. But on the God level of consciousness, all time is now, and all places are here. So there is no separation, no movement, no nothing going on. It's just zero, fool, no thing. And apparently, the life power deems it worthwhile to create seeming separateness and to experience itself looking out from every pair of eyes like yours and mine. So the great prayer of Anne Davies, teach us to know in ever greater measure that it is thou who sees through our eyes, hears through our ears, and speaks through our mouths. That everything you touch, that God is touching the world through you, looking out through your eyes. And the Kabbalistic path of return is the transformation of human consciousness so that you can allow the fool, the God consciousness, to express through you. That you can provide an adequate vehicle for God and Goddess to come down and drive. So it's interesting. Notice that the charioteer showing the reins. The reins are the control of personality. And the reins here are turned over into the hands of the charioteer. And it's the experience that we have when we are expressing the lastro key, the world, the administrative intelligence. When you may have found yourself inspired when you're talking to someone and you'll say things you didn't even know that are just what they needed to hear. This is an example of prophecy, of the life power speaking through your mouth. And it's something that happens through you. I just want to finish with a concept here of the magician. The magician, your thinking mind, is the transparent intelligence. What does this mean? It means that your thinking mind does not generate thoughts. It is transparent to the life power bringing thoughts through it. Kind of like a light bulb doesn't generate light, but electricity flowing through it generates light. Similarly, the feeling of being a separate being inside of your skin with the rest of the world outside is an artifact of the life power flowing through a physical vehicle and your being, your mind. And it's very wise to not ascribe personal or source to the power flowing through you. Remember the story of Moses. He didn't ever get to paradise. I mean, he led the Israelites out of captivity in Egypt and through the desert for 2 generations, but he died before ever getting there. Why? Because during part of the time they ran out of water in the desert, and the people pleaded to him, and he prayed to God. God said, "Strike the rock here with your staff, and water shall come forth and feed and water the people," which he did, ascribing all power to God. But this happened later on, and he was kind of pissed at the people, going, "Oh, why do we have to be here out in the desert? It was nice back in Egypt. At least we had food, even if we were slaves, and we had a place to sleep." And they were yammering and begging for water, and God told him to do it again. And he said, "Do I have to strike the rock here with my staff?" And he did so, and water came out. And God was pissed because he ascribed personal source to the power that brought forth the water for the people. So he assumed my personality is God. And that's a real wrong thing to do. Be humble. Remember that it is the life power flowing through you that manifests all the things of your life. All the thoughts are thoughts that come to you and through you. I'm a songwriter, but I don't make up these songs. I wake up in the morning with music in my mind, and sometimes with the words in my mind. And even when I'm thinking them up while I'm awake, I'm hopefully often wise enough to invite the higher power to speak through me and to show me the things that are coming next. So there's wisdom in humility of not ascribing the life force to yourself, but rather having you being a willing and happy vehicle for the life power to express itself through you. Let's see if there's any other questions or ideas up here. Christopher would like me to show what I've written up for each card or letter. Here's a big one. For each card or letter, I have all this stuff written up. You were talking about suggestion, taste, digestion, Leo, intelligence, spiritual life. These are different things I've written up about each card. And then the stage of spiritual unfoldment, the chakras involved, the initiation is purified, how it works in alchemy, the planet metal, the alchemical stage. There's tons of stuff. And you can find this online. You go to joyceworld.com and you'll find all of these wonderful things if you want to look up Christopher. joyousworld.com. Then click on Kabbalah and you'll find all of this information. If you don't find it, let me know. I'll show you how to find it. Aquarius, he asks about Aquarius. Aquarius is, let me go back to our picture of all the tarot. Aquarius is the star down here. Here is Isis unveiled. This is the principle of meditation. The letter on the key is Sadi. Sadi is the fishhook. And here is the great fisher. Notice the conscious mind, the magician, is the little red bird sitting in the mulberry tree watching. In the function of meditation, the conscious mind is simply an observer, still not sleeping, very awake, but not active. It is the subconscious mind who is the active partner in meditation. She's pouring water upon the ground, and it's making 5 rivers, 5 little streams going out. The 5 senses are being purified through meditation. And she's pouring the water back upon the water, and it's becoming firm. Here's the letter Mim again, the water. And she's standing on the surface of the water, not down under the water like the angel in Temperance. When the waters of consciousness are turned back upon themselves, they become firm. When meditation starts to work in you, you'll find that you're aware that the space between the 2 sides of your skull is galaxies wide. And this empty space becomes something very firm and palpable. So there we are, Christopher. We'll get more into Aquarius, but that's the star in the tarot. Thank you for your question. And I'll share with you all this meaningful stuff, the associations. But it is the homework of every student of the mysteries to learn the attributions, to learn the correspondences. So the magician is Mercury. It's the color yellow. It's the letter E. It's the lower octave of Uranus, the Fool. It is the conscious mind. It is the bachelor man. And all these correspondences, learning them. This path is interesting. This is, in a sense, a form of jnana yoga. Jnana means yoga means union. Jnana means knowledge. So it's union with God via knowledge. It's a very hard path because knowledge, there's so much of it. But the way it works is that you learn the many associations with each one of these letters and each one of these tarot keys. And then when you meditate on them, one thing means 20 different things. And then when it trains your mind to think many different things at once, to entertain many different aspects at the same time. And then when you have a higher level, also a multidimensional experience, your training in this mystery language of the Hebrew alphabet and the Tarot will allow you to recall this high experience that you had and be able to grasp it and fix it with your mind so you can refer to it. Otherwise, the best inspirations are like a flash in the pan, like the young student who takes a psychedelic drug and experiences a high level of God, but it all is all too much and doesn't even remember it very well afterwards. It's kind of a phantom memory, a flash in the pan. The mysteries allows you to embody and fix and use these high experiences that we all have for higher purposes. Okay, I have a last little picture I wanted to show you. I had some software years ago when old Photoshop had the ability to take pictures and blend them together. And as an experiment, I blended all 22 tarot cards equally and created this diagram. Look at the world angel. Here you can see the staff of the fool going across down there, and all the crowns of all the different creatures on top here. You can see the lips of one of the ladies, and all of the tarot keys are all in this one. It's fun to meditate and look and let it, the different. You see that upside down star from the devil up on top of the head here. It's just a lovely diagram to meditate on, just for fun. I put them all together. Okay, everyone, thank you. I enjoyed this greatly, and we'll be back here next week with more. Hope to see you then, and tell your friends. Yes, you can see the rainbow across the top too. Thank you, everybody, and good night for now. See you next week.